live on YouTube. And then we will go to our book. Here we go. Yeah, wow. No, totally. I've been studying Spanish live on YouTube. Okay. And then we will go to our book on. There we go. I think I was muted. Okay. All right. I'm going to start. I'll read.
No, you rest your voice.
Okay. All right. All right.
I think there'll be people in for the next one because that's the course.
All right. Chapter 15, The Brilliant Human Mind.
What's so special about the human mind? Let's take a look. For billions and billions of years, while the planet Earth was spinning through space, the process of evolution took place. There were minerals, then plants, then animals, all formed from atoms created in the stars. The planet had been floating in space for 4.5 billion years before modern humans showed up. It is worth noting that before humans showed up, life on Earth for the other species stayed pretty much the same. Food, shelter, and survival were the name of the game. Things haven't really changed that much of them. The monkeys lived in the trees for tens of millions of years, just as they do now. The fish swam in the waters for hundreds of millions of years, just as they do now. Everything on Earth stayed pretty much the same until you humans showed up with your human mind. You discovered this I love. You discovered electricity and made the nighttime bright. You built giant skyscrapers and machinery that never existed before. You even dug in to the earth, extracted minerals, and developed advanced materials like silicon chips. Then you built a rocket ship, got in, and flew to the moon. Compare that to what any other animals have done. They are living exactly the same as they did 1,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago. You're not. You used to live in caves. Now you're planning to live on Mars. What did that? Did God hide a rocket ship and you found it somewhere? No, your mind did that. Your mind figured out everything was made of atoms. Then you figured out how to split the atom. The human mind actually figured out how the universe was made, all the way down to the quantum level. Your mind put up the Hubble Space Telescope that can see back to the beginning of creation. The Hubble can pick up light that has been traveling through space for more than 13 billion years. This allows us to see what was happening 13 billion years ago. Can you even think about that? The fact is that you can because you have a human mind. The human mind is an amazing thing. That is something serious stuff we figured out. You're back in there deep inside and you have the use of a brilliant mind. That said, what is average human doing with their mind? Einstein used his mind to ponder thought experiments about behavior of light, gravity, and the physics of outer space. even though human had never been there. Meanwhile, you keep your mind busy with relationships, what people think of you, and how to get what you want and avoid what you don't want. Just makes it so simple, doesn't it? You may not have Einstein's mind, but compared to any other living thing on earth, your mind is brilliant. The question is not whether your mind is brilliant. The question is, what are you doing with that brilliance? What we see so far is that the mind itself, without you interfering, is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's giving you the gift of rendering the outside world for you to experience. But you had some trouble accepting that gift. You started resisting when it felt a little too uncomfortable and clinging when it felt a little too good. This caused the buildup of mental patterns inside of you. Now, processing current external experiences becomes distorted by the reactions of past samskaras. You can think of this as layers of the mind. The first layer is where the rendering of the present external experience is taking place. We can call that the here and now layer. The next layer is stored patterns from the past that you did not realize when the external experience was over. We can call that samskara layer. But there's yet another layer. This layer is what you are doing with your brilliant mind to solve the discomfort created by the samskaras. This is the personal thoughts layer. And it is one you identify with the most. You think this is who you are. The combination of these three layers is what we call the personal mind. Yours is completely unique to you and you alone. We create the personal thought layer when we use the tremendous intellectual power of our mind to conceptualize an outside world that will not bother us and will, in fact, make us feel good. It seems perfectly logical. The problem is what we think will make us feel good or bad is simply the result of blocked mental patterns from the past. Wow. If we use our mind's brilliance to develop thought patterns based on how everyone and everything needs to be for us to feel okay, we have limited our life to serving our samskaras. And our personal thoughts don't stop there. What good is it to analyze how you need things to be if you're not also going to think about how to get them that way? First, we figure out the strategy of how to be okay. Then we figure out the tactics of how to make it happen. Strategy and tactics, that's military training. In essence, we are at war with the world. The personal mind has taken on the task of how to get to the world's unfolding in front of you to be the way you want. That should set off alarm bells because we've already discussed in great detail where the world in front of you comes from. And it has nothing to do with what's going on inside your head. The moment in front of you is the result of all natural forces that caused it to be as it is. The preference system in your mind is the result of the past experience that you couldn't handle. These are two totally different set of forces that have nothing to do with each other. For example, there are current impersonal forces that are causing it to rain. There are past personal forces causing you to not like the rain. You have just pitted yourself against the universe and you are going to lose. Nevertheless, the personal mind thinks it's right. You actually think that the universe should be the way you want it to be.
So, yeah, let's stop a minute here. Let's see, I'm not muted. Okay. Let's stop a minute and talk about this whole thing that you
Yeah.
just read. Okay, so he's talking about that everything was here before we got here, and that we're just, managing ourselves in a world that is really here, and that we are kind of strangers in. And,
Mhm.
that's kind of the opposite of what the Course in Miracles is teaching us, because the Course in Miracles is teaching us that the world we see is a projection of our own thinking. And even, if I understand it correctly, and I may be way off base, but I've had to figure this out for myself. Um, Even the whole idea that the dinosaurs were something different than we are, or that the monkeys in the trees are something different than what we are, or that, the prehistoric everything that was. And, the course basically teaches us that all these things appear to be here because we're projecting them from the mind, and none of it existed before the time of what we call the tiny mad idea.
Which is the
So
Big Bang.
the Big Bang, tiny mad idea. So according to A Course in Miracles, not only have we been here the whole time, we're the ones who made it. And
Right, he's not saying that.
no, he's not saying that at all.
Well, that's why
Because
the Course gives you a little bit more, cause. It's real big with cause,
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and then responsibility. It's about taking complete responsibility for everything you say.
Right. So what he's just, saying is that we're kind of just here. We just showed up, and we had to cope with everything that was here already. But the course is teaching me that nothing was here until I put it here. Nothing existed before I made it exist.
Right,
And this whole story of and that also everything we are everything that is. So, like I said, we are the dinosaurs, we are the trees, what we
right,
are is the sum of all creation, which, however you look at it, would have to mean that, we were here before, that what
right.
we have been, what we are, it has existed prior to anything in the world. And if that point of view puts you in a much different place than, I'm a human, I just showed up here and now I got to figure out how to build a building or make a computer or a cell phone because, I need, I have a brilliant mind that can expand. The brilliant, the brilliance is not the human mind. The human mind is really kind of dumb compared to the mind
Yeah,
that
he's not saying that we are the I am presence. It's
right.
the infinite that's doing this, all of it,
It's the
right?
infinite that's doing this. So
Mhm.
all of that, as you were reading it, I'm like, okay, well, I can see that point of view, and I can see that probably 99.9% of the people in the world would see it that way. Uh, on the other hand, if you're following along with what the course is teaching, you know that none of that is really true. All of that is just a convenient story um, trying to figure out how come uh how come the caveman had to live in a cave. I mean,
And did it really happen? Because like
and
every
did it
time,
really happen? Yeah,
right? Because it's only happening where we're at. Like it's all imagination. So I can't know what was here before I was here, really.
right. And to the world that sounds insane, but
Right,
if you believe that way, then there really is no way out, because the way we got in was through our own thinking. And so the way that we can get out is by changing our mind about how we're
right.
doing it.
Yeah.
So, while that was a great story that you just read,
Well,
uh,
he's explaining it to someone that didn't read the course because I guess on a level of like where they would be if they never saw the Course in Miracles, If they're going to wake up, they're going to wake up even by this book.
Right. And that's quite true. That is quite true.
They won't have the understanding that it's 100% of responsibility, which is really a challenge, at least was for this mind, to take 100%. Like even what happened this weekend, if we look at it from responsibility, then we would all want to say that we were sorry that our mind made that up, because that's what happened. It wasn't a single moment that that man shot him or those guys shot him. That was all our projection.
Yeah. And I mean, really, that is showing the confusion in our own minds that
Right.
that
Yep.
somehow or together, these things can be happening, and we feel so helpless when we're really not helpless at all, because we're the ones who are making it happen by our own.
Yeah, and we can stop it by just walking away, but there's temptation, and there's an idea in our minds that we want to take care of the personal self, but the personal self will be perfectly taken care of by the infinite. So we
Yeah,
don't have to do anything. We can walk away from the television right here, right now, and say, I don't want to hear any of it anymore. But do we
right,
do that?
right. Well, because then we get, as Angelo was talking about in his book, we get bored, and we want to fill the time with
Yeah,
something.
we think that boredom is something to fill the time with, when in fact, if you sit in the boredom, you're in the infinite.
Right. And learn not to be bored, and
Right.
seriously, how can you be one with the universe and be bored? You're part of this immense, amazing thing that is an incredible reality. And so, but we spotlight little bits, and it is just like, if you've ever been out in the woods, and I don't know if you've ever done this.
No, I
So,
have. I went to a place called Cook's Forest twice to
yeah,
to say, and we camped there. Yeah.
right. So, and it's nighttime, and you have to get up and, do something, and you take your flashlight, and, you can't see things around you, very barely. But if you flashlight on something, you can see it. It's a funny story. This is a real funny story. I was in, I think, South Carolina, and I used to wear contact lenses, and my contact lens, uh, I I took it out for some reason, probably because it was dirty and I wanted to clean it. And the wind caught it and blew it. It was nighttime, all right? And so it was a night, and then we were in the woods. And I'm like, well, that's gone. I'm not going to be able to see forever, because back then contact lenses were way expensive. I couldn't afford to get another one. So anyway, but we started looking. There was a whole group of us. We started looking, and with flashlights. And I swear to God, this guy shined his flashlight up in a tree, and there was my contact lens caught on the branch of the
That's
tree.
just plain, like, that's fate.
Yeah, that was crazy,
Mhm.
crazy. But spotlighting it, that's what we were doing. So sometimes when you're shining the spotlight in the dark, you will find what it is that you're looking for. But for the most part, you're just going to see trees and branches. The fact that we found that was just, I credit that as a miracle, honest to God. I credit that
Yeah,
as that
I
could
do.
should never have happened. But sure enough, that's what happened. And but yeah, when we spotlight things, then sometimes we find what we're looking for, but for the most part, we're going to just see trees and branches, maybe an owl, I don't know. But that's kind of shot in the dark that we're experiencing now. Supposing, and this is a big supposing that I was so in tune with everything around me that I knew where it was, because I knew where everything was, because I was experiencing myself as this world, as the trees, as the forest,
Right.
as the soil, as everything. I would be, if I were clear with what I believe I really am, the truth of what I really am, I would be so connected to everything that I wouldn't, there would be no need to spotlight anything because everything that is happening would just be perfect. And, I would know where everything was. That's why, when people say, I lost this, I don't know where it is. And, I'm jokingly telling them, ask Jesus, he knows where everything is because he's in everything. He's here right now. But that's me too. That's what I am too. And this is the
Yes.
reality that
I felt I have to bring up the woman Carolina. I felt bad because you really liked her and you wanted to help her. Do you know her message? Or did you talk to her on Messenger?
no, I have not spoken with her at all. I just am pretty well thinking that she probably got freaked out and left from that conversation about Jesus because it's hard for people to understand that
Oh, there's so
Jesus
much
is not
guilt. I
perfect.
had people leave. I mean, I had a course class here like 5, 6 years ago, and people wanted to leave. They said, "I don't want this book. I don't want it."
Yeah,
Why? Because Jesus is the only one son. Well, no, that's not true.
yeah, yeah. And people are so scared
Right.
because of how how they've been trained to be afraid. But of course, I was trained to be afraid like that as well. And
Sure.
but I came to the point where I just said, wait a minute.
I don't wanna be afraid anymore.
Yeah, wait a minute. If the whole point of all of this is that God loves me, all right, the whole point of all of it is that God loves me and that and I love, I didn't have kids at the time, but I had nieces and nephews. My sisters all had dozens of kids. So so or at least a dozen. I had all these kids that I, was around, younger and whatever. And I was thinking how much I loved them and just how dearly and how heartbroken I would be if anything happened to any of them. And then I thought about God and this God that's like, well, I'm going to make you, but I'm going to make some rules. And if you break the rules, I'm going to burn you up because, but I'm going to make you so that you're tempted and that, I know that you're going to take that temptation. You're going to take that I'm going to give things to you and say, you can't eat from that tree or you can't do this or that. And then if you do it, I'm going to burn you up, even though I know you're going to do it. There's a lady on TikTok that does a whole thing about, you know, talking to Christians or talking to people about Jesus and and how terrifying it is to hear that. And I know the first years of my life there was a certain underlying terror that ran through me, which I recognize my mother basically put in there because she wanted to be able to control me, not because she was bad or evil, but she didn't want me doing things that she didn't want me doing. So, and your mother did it to you too, and everybody's
Yeah,
mother.
but they didn't have any information. They had none.
Right, exactly. They're like so
They
afraid.
Yeah, they were just so afraid. They had no information on how to treat us, how to even raise they we have of course, now's the information age, but we've had years of psychology right in our face where they
Right,
didn't have any of that.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, my mom was 16 when she got married. She got married when she was 16 and they came to they ended up being in Colorado and she had her first baby. My oldest two sisters were born in a tent
Oh my god.
because they had no money and they used their
Like a
car broke
movie it
down.
is, like, I've never seen that before.
I know it's crazy, but the area is, how it was up in Canyon City, that area, once you
Right.
start going up the mountains. how, it gets, harder and harder. And they were in a Model T Ford, and it broke down in Idaho Springs, up by Idaho Springs. So they were just stuck. They had no money. And so, yeah, they, went, pitched up tents in the woods. They lived in the woods. My dad, her husband, he wasn't my dad, her husband and his brother, um, pan gold. They would go down the creek and pan for gold, and then every week they'd go and sell their gold at the assay office and buy groceries. That's how they lived. And then they found an old miner's cabin, and they moved into that and fixed that up and whatever. But but that's how they lived, but that's how they lived in Missouri too. So it wasn't like some radical change in their lifestyle. The tents were, but they were used to living in a house. But the whole idea that uh you know that's natural life for many, 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 many people in this world. Not everybody has, like we have.
No.
We're
I
in
mean, if
America.
you look at your life or my life, we had a good life. We have to look at it
Yeah,
like
no dang kidding. Lucky,
comparatively
lucky, lucky.
speaking, this was a good life.
But anyways, as I was saying, my sisters all had all these kids, so I was always with all these kids, nieces and nephews who were around my same age, basically. But I took care of them, changed their diapers and everything like that when they were babies. Um, and I could never imagine, I couldn't think of anything any one of those kids would ever do that would make me want to throw them in a pit of fire to burn forever and ever. And and if I was like that, if I felt like that and I loved them, then how could God love me even more than that and think about destroying me if I did something that he didn't like as if he wasn't omniscient and didn't know I wasn't going to do it anyways. So he just was a sick, perverted character in my mind. It came to a point where either I believed this God who was this. I mean, read, if you ever want to know, go read the Old Testament or the books, the stories of the Jews as they went through all the different things and all the terrible. I mean, honestly, he destroyed whole uh countries. He had made a big flood and killed everybody in the world except for a few people that were sucked up to him enough. I read that. I once I started getting that, man, if either God is this thing that I've been being taught my whole life is what God is, or God is this thing that I feel in me that is like infinitely loving and infinitely compassionate, empathetic, you know, loving, giving. Where did that come from? Right. And I
Right.
realized that that was really what God is. And this character that I was being told, to the point where he even sent his own son to be, tortured and murdered, uh, just to make up for us being so bad. I mean, that's ridiculous. What a silly story. But that so many people in this world believe that or some variation of it to the point that they're willing to kill or die for it. It's just, how sad that is, because where is the love that that is the essence of what God is? If the essence of God is love, which I believe with all my being is, then how could any of this other crap be true? And if the essence of God is love, then that's all I really want to be. And that's all I really want to see. And that's all I really want to do. So, then how do I love a guy who, you know, shot somebody for taking a picture of him on his cell phone. You know,
Right.
how, that has got to be a full, compassionate love that knows something that I, in my mind, don't know. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why Jesus tells us in the Course, if you can't judge because you don't know everything. And
And we
you're
have to
right.
stay quiet with that one because we don't know.
We don't know. That's right. And people will say things, well, maybe the purpose of it is to wake us up so that we'll stop believing this horse shit and get on to, doing something that makes sense in the world, instead of, living this life where we're in total fear all the time. But I'm just gonna real quick here, I'm gonna move the page forward so we can start the next, thoughts and dreams. This will be interesting. But I just want to go and look over here at, let's see, today is 27. Yeah, that's right. They sold 27. Um, the last couple of lessons go back to uh, lesson 25, which is the first time that we hear this, that purpose is meaning. I don't know what anything is for. And it says, today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it is for. Therefore, it is meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interest. That
Right.
is what it is
Right.
for. And that is its purpose, and that is what it means. So the question, how did this happen? What is going on here? What is it for? There's the answer right there. Everything is for your own best interests.
Right.
Know what it's for.
These
It's
lessons have such hidden words in them.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we
That,
can
that,
look at it as the interest of the fact that we're not. Oh, Mickey's here. Good. Hi, Mickey. We're waiting for people to come.
Hi.
Hi.
you've been listening on the radio.
No, she's
I
in a
I actually I was doing some stuff, but I had it up on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe so. Uh,
But I gotta say, if I could, if I
yes.
could interject for a moment, that whole idea that you were just talking about, being raised with the Bible and the Bible's version of what God is. And I I never really got into the weeds with it. Um, I just had this gut reaction of this doesn't make any sense at all. It just doesn't make sense. And I left it at that. And until I found the course, I looked at other Buddhism and paganism and Wicca and, all sorts of other stuff, just trying to find something that made sense.
Yeah.
And all of those things made a lot more sense to me than the Bible did, but I still knew that there was something missing. And when I found the course, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And that was it.
Mickey.
So,
You didn't read the New Testament, right? Because you were Jewish,
I read a little. No, actually, no, I didn't. I didn't read the New Testament at all.
right? I mean, were your parents? Did they go to synagogue?
No. They
See, I
went
had
for,
all that. I didn't have it like Dove. Dove was religious.
right.
My younger sisters were. They were religious, but my older sister and I, not so much.
Yeah, my parents went for the connections. They
Right.
just wanted to figure out, how to make friends and get money.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's the real good purpose for all that. I don't know what it's for, but that seemed to be a good idea. So, yeah, so yes, that Old Testament God, which I'm really glad they didn't expose us too much to him, but they did expose us to it because we used to have all these stories about, like I was talking about Noah and the ark, and they were all like, you got to be buds with this God guy, because if you don't suck up the right way, he's going to do some bad things to you. And and it was all, but even in the Old Testament, there's not the idea of hell, right? There's no devil, there's no, none of that. It, that came in actually kind of from the church, really. They made it up. But there were other religions who did have that concept of, going to, a place of torture after, um, if you didn't, I don't know how they judge and what the levels of it is, but a Catholic, there's a few levels. So you got your limbo, which is for people who were never baptized, and so they couldn't have done any different. You got your uh, uh, I can't even think of the word.
Purgatory?
Purgatory, yeah. The purgatory, which is, for you were kind of half bad or half good, and God hadn't decided yet, or there were some circumstances that were, possibly, made it not so clear that you were belonged in either heaven or hell. So you just had to go hang out there for a while till somebody figured it out. They had all these ideas that, about it, but the whole thing being that, God was just a really, really crazy, crazy guy, who had some really uh, wild ideas about how to be a father. And so, yeah, if you grow up thinking that that's what is real, then yeah, you're going to be a little whacked out too. And to the level um of which you believe that, that's, the level uh that you're going to react when things go not the right way for you. So, but that's what Jesus is telling us here. I don't know what anything is for. It's not, but everything, from sentence 5, everything is for your own best interest. That is what it's for. That is its purpose. That is what it means. It is in recognizing this that your goals become unified. It is in recognizing this that you see that what you see is given meaning. And so, yeah, that's all. Really, if we just recognize that, whatever it is that is in my own best interest, that's what it's for. That's its only purpose. And that's why then your goals can become unified. Then you don't have a goal of, I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to try to be nicer to this person. I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to, um, whatever, learn to speak Spanish. I'm looking at my own life here. That those are purposes. All of those things are purposes. And purpose's meaning is basically saying, this is what I think I am. I need to improve the vessel, the thing that I think I am. And I need to improve the world that it lives in. And I need to improve the other people that it hangs out with, so that we can all have an improved experience of this dreaming world. And that's the purpose that I've given it. So what is the real purpose of the world? It's not that. It's none of those things. And yet, how much time do I spend attending to those things and not attending to the reality of what I am and the reality of what is? That, this is the place where we make the choice, right? You just say, I am going to continue to um, play the game, or I'm going to give up the game. And the fear that when you give up the game, that you'll be in a state of free fall, or, God forbid, boredom. Oh my Lord, don't let me get bored. Um, you just don't want it. You would rather have those other purposes and fill up your life. And I'm saying you when I'm talking to me, Lynn, you'd rather have those other purposes, fill up your life with all this meaningless stuff, and lose the entire meaning of my being. What kind of crazy stuff is that? Um, so yeah, so that lesson 25, and then yesterday's lesson, my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. That I think I can be attacked because I think that there's something outside of me. And if I think there's something outside of me, then I will be attacked. The bottom line, if I think there's something outside of me, it has to be separate. And anything that's separate from me is going to hurt me. That's how, that's the only way that I can exist in this dream, is by thinking that, I need to protect, defend, improve, fix, repair, uh, change in some way or the other, this thing. It's all attack. I'm being attacked, and I'm attacking myself. So my attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. Basically, it is uh uh this is very cool. He says, um okay, it's obvious if you've been attacked, you're not invulnerable. You think that you really can be attacked. That's because you think you can really attack. I think I can attack. And what would have effects through me if must also have effects on me. If I can do it, it can be done to me. Boom. That's the law, reciprocal law of reality. If I can do it, it can be done to me. It is this law that will ultimately save you, but you are misusing it now. You must therefore learn how it can be used for your own best interest rather than against them. And what are my own best interests? I don't really know. I don't know what anything is. I don't even know what it's for. But here again, he's talking to us about our own best interests, right? He's saying whatever it is for your own best interest. That's what he's saying here, right? And then he says, uh, everything is for your own best interest. And then he says, you got to learn how it's for your own best interest. And one of our more famous favorite one, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything, past, present, and to come, is for your own best interest? Everything is for my own best interest. So what is my best interest? My own best interest today, above all else I want to see. Today's idea expresses something stronger than mere determination. It gives vision priority among your desires. So it's changing, it's bringing the purpose from these scattered desires, these scattered dreams that we're living and thinking about, is bringing that purpose to one thing, vision. And that is really all we can ask for at this point, is vision, because until we can actually see what it is that we're doing, we there's no reason to stop. And so when vision becomes priority among our desires, then we will actually be shown what things are for. And then we will no longer cry and be angry and sad and want vengeance and revenge when we see things happening in the world, because we'll have a vision of it in which we will see the truth of what's happening and not the murderous picture that's being presented to us by our own vision, our own ego eyes. So, the idea of vision in the next few lessons, he's going to be talking about vision and how to see, how to change our vision to see things differently. And I'm not going to go on with that because we are reading this book, but just to know, to be at this point now where we focused, or I have anyway, focused to actually use vision while we're reading and talking about these books. And we're almost done with this, our hour already. And, but thoughts and dreams, what it is that we're getting from reading this book by Michael Singer. This is part 4, Thoughts and Dreams. We're going to start this next week because, yeah, we don't have time for that right now. But we're going to talk about the abstract mind. So what I see here kind of is Mickey Singer here is explaining it to us on the basis of the dream, the world, and how we see the world, and that we are characters in the dream, and that we are persons in the world. Where Angelo, what we've been reading, Awake, It's Your Turn, Angelo has been talking to us about what we are is something beyond this world, and that this thing that we are that's beyond this world can be experienced as we go beyond this world. So seems like there's, it's very interesting. I'm kind of intrigued by all of this. All right. Just go ahead and close that out. I'm going to go ahead and close out the YouTube, let everybody know that we're getting ready to start